Yeah, gonna do a what's his face? Musicians for Truth. Let's get him to 1,000 subscribers. He just put out a new song that I'm just about to listen to. Flat Earth's song, Trouble Never Ends. Get. No one's even in the chat room, or you bunch of fucking boring assholes. There you go. Thank you, Antonio. Sheesh. Expect me to react to a song when no one's even fucking here? 5 people here. Okay, cool. Just like and share real quick. I want to get at least like 8 or 10 people real quick. In the meantime, I'm just about to react to Musicians for Truth. But let's see here. Oh, nice. So this is my Twitter. Humans are so crazy. The top 3 highest paid athletes in the world make $260 million collectively this year. That's way higher than that, actually. Like way higher than that. Imagine how many cures for diseases we could find if we put 260 of the world's greatest scientists in a room together and paid them each $1 million a year. Yeah, I'll be going live tonight too. I want to react. I want to watch the Kobe Bryant. He's gonna get both of his numbers retired. The number 8, number 24, the first player in NBA history to get 2 numbers retired by the same team. 20 years since Chris Farley passed away. It's fucking shitty. Okay, so let's react to this song here. So hopefully there's like some more people. Yeah, we got 8 people. What's up, FE Underdog? Antonio Subarat's got 2. Let's see here. Here we go. This is I don't want to listen to it on. I'm gonna take it over to here. This one's faster, so I'm gonna do it over here. Plus, see, no screw ups. Okay, you guys ready? Let's do it. 13 people watching. We're about to watch Musicians for Truth. Morgan Ellis, what's going on? Oh, Antonio. All right, well, I'll give you a wrench. My computer's going a little slow, sorry. Just adding a few moderators. FE Underdog, stick around, you'll get yourself a wrench. What's up? What's going on, Zane? So here goes. Musicians for Truth, new song, new Flat Earth song, Trouble Never Ends.
It's not my fault. It's on my head. The truth never read. It's on my head. One my hands, one begin. It's on my head. Never read. Well, you know we have today. I've got this feeling that won't go away. If you wake up and don't like what you see, it's not my fault. It's in my head. The truth never ends. It's out of my head. One lie and one begin. It's out of my head. The truth never ends. It's out of my head. One lie and one begin.
Yup. Just putting some socks on. Yeah, dude, that's fucking badass, dude. You gotta. I like the fucking video. You got the drones in there. I feel your anger. I feel your sadness. I feel your frustration. I feel your disappointment. I can feel that. So that's the thing about quote unquote energy. Now, Dredd he just put his life essence. Now there's a thing. Some musicians they don't even have to they don't have to try. They just have they're like an empty vessel, and other people write their lyrics and write their little strums and rhythms and tunes on their musical instruments. So they don't even create their own musical rhythm, or they don't even create their own music or lyrics. So those are just empty vessels. But in my opinion, people who create their own music and they create their own music videos and they create their own lyrics, they're putting their life force and their life essence out there. And in my opinion, they don't. I mean, they don't have to do that, but it should. It's kind of like a social responsibility. Not only does it make the person who, not only does it help the person, in this case, Musicians for Truth, but it also helps the other people who listen to it. And that's actually, after listening to that song, this is actually a perfect segue into, well, fuck it. I'll just, I'll get rid of that. I'm going to thumbs that up, and I'm going to share that. And I'll share that again on Facebook. Let's check out. What are you guys thinking? What's up, KDO? Yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. All right, so let's move on. And yo, Musicians for Truth. After this quick 3.5 minute video, I'm gonna read off a quote / poem, and And no, Antonio, it's not the same one that I read on your on your Hangouts. This is a different one, and a shorter one too. But I read it earlier, and it really struck me. It really resonated with me. And oh shit! And listening to your song, it reminds me of your song. And so I'll read that after this quick Terence McKenna Synchronicity story.
This belief that the world is entirely independent of our minds and objective and unaware of us is the kind of scientific fiction in which we operate, and then the real truth that appears to our perceptions, the truth of our immediate experience, is that the mind is a concentric field of diminishing intensity that can draw events and circumstances far from the ranges of probability. I mean, once I had the following experience. It's all anecdotal, you see. I was in a dry wash in the Negev desert, and there was absolutely no food, and I was a poor traveling hippie, a hashashin, and a cave dweller, and a ne'er-do-well.
That's right. Terence McKenna was living in the middle of a desert, in the middle of a cave. He was basically running away from the FBI and the CIA, and he was a hashish hermit, a cave dweller, like he just said.
And it was like 120 degrees outside my cave, and
It was 120 degrees outside my cave.
The poor traveling hippie, a hashashin, and a cave dweller, and a ne'er-do-well. And it was like 120 degrees outside my cave, and I was sitting in front of my cave, smoking hash. And out through the shimmering heat, I could see this dot of a person. And as I watched them making their way through the rocks and the scrub, I began to have a fantasy about this, that they had food, that they didn't simply have food, that they had oysters Rockefeller packed in ice, that they had Russian caviar, that they had Belgian chocolate, that they had all of this stuff. And, you know, I hadn't had a bath in 3 weeks. There was barely any water in this place. And this speck made its way toward me, getting larger and larger. And finally, it turned into this guy I barely knew, a fellow lost soul. This was in southern Israel 25 years ago. And he came up to me and he said, I have oysters packed in ice. I have Belgian chocolate. I have, and he had gotten a job dishwashing that morning at the King David Hotel and had just quit in disgust halfway through the day and had raided this super fancy 4-star hotel and just had a backpack full of this stuff. And I didn't even bother to tell him. I mean, what am I going to say, you know? I mean, sure, of course. So these kinds of things, and they're very private. You see, nothing happens there except that a guy quits his job and rips off a hotel, except that it is coincident with an internal state, a private musing of somebody else. When the two things come together, the coincidence of it is absolutely excruciating. Hotel, except that it is coincident with an internal state, a private musing of somebody else. When the two things come together, the coincidence of it is absolutely excruciating.
Yes, it is indeed, my friend. Yes, it is indeed. Yeah, I just I just smoked one up too. Musicians for Truth. I lived in a cave, no joke. Morgan Ellis says, nice. Witness as I master these rhymes worth elaboration. Top spot reservation with no hesitation. Daily synchronizations got me rethinking of if civilization is some sort of simulation. Yeah, Terrence has got a million stories like that. Now, Dread, I want this is what reminded me of. Now, check this shit out. Okay, you guys see this? Spiritual materialism. I actually just posted this 55 minutes ago. So let's see if you guys are all still here. You got 11 people watching. All right, cool. All right. So spiritual materialism. The biggest problem. I'll read it like that. The biggest problem spirituality faces today. The ego can convert anything to its own use, even spirituality. Ego is constantly attempting to acquire and apply the teachings of spirituality for its own benefit. The teachings are treated as an external thing, external to me, a philosophy which we try to imitate. We do not actually want to identify with or become the teachings. So if our teacher speaks of renunciation of ego, we attempt to mimic renunciation of ego. We go through the motions, make the appropriate gestures, but we really do not want to sacrifice any part of our way of life. We become skillful actors, and while playing deaf and dumb to the real meaning of the teachings, we find some comfort in pretending to follow the path. Whenever we begin to feel any discrepancy or conflict between our actions and the teachings, we immediately interpret the situation in such a way that the conflict is smoothed over. The interpreter is ego in the role of spiritual advisor. It does not matter what we use to achieve self-justification. The wisdom of sacred books, diagrams or charts, mathematical calculations, esoteric formula, fundamentalist religion, depth psychology, or any other mechanism. Whenever we begin to evaluate, deciding that we should or should not do this or that, then we have already associated our practice or our knowledge with categories, one pitted against the other, and that is spiritual materialism, the false spirituality of our spiritual advisor. Whenever we have a dualistic notion such as, I am doing this because I want to achieve a particular state of consciousness, a particular state of being, then automatically we separate ourselves from the reality of what we are. It is important to see that the main point of any spiritual practice is to step out of the bureaucracy of ego. This means stepping out of ego's constant desire for a higher, more spiritual, more transcendental version of knowledge, religion, virtue, judgment, comfort, or whatever it is that the particular ego is seeking. One must step out of spiritual materialism. If we do not step out of spiritual materialism, if we in fact practice it, then we may eventually find ourselves possessed of a huge collection of spiritual paths. We may feel these spiritual collections to be very precious. We have studied so much. We may have studied Western philosophy or Oriental philosophy, practiced yoga, or perhaps have studied under dozens of great masters. We have achieved and we have learned. We believe that we have accumulated a hoard of knowledge. And yet, Having gone through all this, there is still something to give up. It is extremely mysterious. How could this happen? Impossible. But unfortunately, it is so. Our vast collections of knowledge and experience are just part of our ego's display, part of the grandiose quality of ego. We display them to the world, and in doing so, reassure ourselves that we exist safe and secure as spiritual people. Or religious people, too. Keep that in mind. Oh, I'm religious. I have the Word of God and Jesus on my side. don't let this spiritual fucking berating mistake you. One has to work with a kind of middle way, a complete state of being as you are. We could describe this with a lot of words, but one really has to do it. If you really start living the middle way, then you will see it, you will find it. You must allow yourself, to trust in your own intelligence. We are a tremendous people. We have tremendous things in us. We simply have to let ourselves be. External aid cannot help. Why do you think, excuse me, why do you think that people are so protective of their egos? Why is it so hard to let go of one's ego? Well, the answer is people are afraid of the emptiness of space, or the absence of company, the absence of a shadow. It could be a terrifying experience to have no one to relate to, nothing to relate with. Yeah, it really is. The idea of it can be extremely frightening, though not the real experience. It is generally a fear of space, a fear that we will not be able to anchor ourselves to any solid ground, that we may lose our identity as a fixed and solid and definite thing. That could be very threatening. This is a very interesting statement right here. I found this to be very profound. Disappointment is the best chariot to use on the path of the Dharma. Disappointment. It does not confirm the existence of our ego and its dreams. Oh, yeah, that's good right here. And I feel like I live this way. Like I've done a good job over the past year and some months here in San Diego. I've done some good things, but disappointment would be that's the best word to describe this past year. Disappointment is the best chariot to use on the path of Dharma. It does not confirm the existence of our ego and its dreams. However, if we are involved with spiritual materialism, if we regard spirituality as a part of our own, as a part of our acclamation of learning and virtue, if spirituality becomes a way of building ourselves up, then of course the whole process of surrendering is completely distorted. If we regard spirituality as a way of making ourselves comfortable, then whenever we experience something unpleasant, a disappointment, we try to rationalize it. Of course, this must be an act of wisdom on the part of the guru, because I'm quite certain the guru doesn't do harmful things. Surely we can't give ourselves to this dirty, ordinary street scene of reality called Google Hangout. We have the feeling that every step of the path we tread should be a lotus petal, and we develop a logic that interprets whatever happens to us accordingly. If we fall, we create a soft landing which prevents a sudden shock. Surrendering does not involve preparing for a soft landing. It means just landing on the hard, ordinary ground, on rocky, wild countryside. Once we open ourselves, then we land on what is. Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism by Chogyam Trungpa. The Middle Pathway. The mystic is one who is seeking to gain truth and lift the veil by developing the heart side of his nature. The mystic is one who is seeking to gain truth and lift the veil by developing the heart side of his nature. The mystic strives to gain by intuition what the occultist searches for by reason. It is the union of these two paths, the mystic and the occult, that gives the seeker the balance that is added to his sorry. It is the union of these two paths, the mystic and the occult, that gives the seeker the balance that is added to this, and the student applies his theoretical knowledge. Then the eternal triangle is perfected and balanced in man. I thought that was really fucking good. I read that and I really fucking enjoyed that, and I wanted to share it with you. In the 70s, it was called global cooling. Global cooling. It's true. And global warming. Now, show me the edge, please. Could you just show me a picture of the edge? Go travel to the edge. That's a straw man argument. Learn the definition. Now show me the core, pseudoscience boy. This is according to a TED talk at Tuscan, Dr. George Land. He said, according to NASA scientists, we are born creative geniuses, and the education system dumbs us down. Oh, really? I had no idea. Fuck me. So this is the California fires. California fires. Look at check out what happens at 34 seconds in. You see a green laser shoot down from the sky. It actually startles the man filming. Got it. This fucking dummy, Peter Mickelson. Lens flare. It's a lens flare. Oh, it's a lens flare? Is this... That's weird. Because all these houses are vaporized. These are all houses that are vaporized, and the trees are all untouched. Yeah, that's called a directed energy weapon. You might want to look that up. I'm 30 minutes away from this shit. So these are the California fires. They're happening in Northern California, Los Angeles, and in Northern San Diego. Luckily, I'm in Southern San Diego. No offense. Or that's space-based advanced laser weapons. There's green lasers, blue lasers. It's
separate record, stack them and pack them, green design, walking,
Look at these
no
things.
fireplaces, kind of communities with density and appropriate agencies.
It's all over the goddamn place. Tell me it's a fucking... Alright, so what's going on in the Hangout? PP Langstrip, Del Bilo, what's up, Morky? Tell IPS I said what up. Musicians for Truth. One must step out of spiritual materialism. Interesting. Letting go of the ego is the key. Well, that is an illusion, but you're almost there. Little this is honestly one of the very first games I ever played in my life. I was like 3 or 4 years old. Final Fantasy in 88? 1987. I played this shit in 1988. Final Fantasy. I beat almost every single one of these games. Aw, dude, this game's legendary. There's so much occultism riddled within the esoteric occultism, mysticism, what's it called? Theological? Yeah. Theological philosophies. I loved Final Fantasy. I still do. I actually already beat Final Fantasy 15, the newest one that came out. Oh shit, dude, that's fucking that's fucking Gilgamesh. That's fucking Gilgamesh. And I think that's like a Excalibur. No, that's not Excalibur. That's fucking that. I forgot who the fuck that is. Oh, Tree of Life. See this shit? Tree of Life symbolism. This shit's everywhere. The giant crystal. Look at it. Giant crystal mountain. And the fucking. This is the first time I'm watching this. Giant crystal mountain with a fucking Tree of Life. And this is the goddamn. It's fucking amazing. Oh, Final Fantasy VI, one of the best ones ever. Some people say the greatest Final Fantasy VI. Amazing game. Fucking incredible game. My personal favorite, of course, Final Fantasy VII, and I think everyone's personal favorite, although everyone loves different ones. Let's keep going. I'm fanboying so hard right now. I'm going total nostalgic mode, and I'm having a good time. Oh, God. The Mako energy? Woo! Oh, yeah. Yo, Dread. Synthetic Dread. You gotta be Sephiroth I know you like to go as your little fucking zombie or whatever, but if you went as Sephiroth and got a giant fucking fake Musamun sword with the fucking Sephiroth armor, look at that. You got the dreads already? Dude. You'd be the greatest Sephiroth of all time, bro. Final Fantasy VIII was fucking incredible. I don't care what anyone says. Suck my balls. Final Fantasy IX, classic game. Final Fantasy X, epic game. You see how the graphics keep getting better and better? It's amazing. Final Fantasy XI was the first computer online Final Fantasy game, so that was different. I watched my friends play that one. I didn't really play it too much. I just watched my friends play it. It was a very interesting, and I watched my friends play it for dozens of hours. Still a very good game. Final Fantasy XII, legendary game. Actually, did I beat it? I think yeah. Final Fantasy XII was the game that I quit video games. Final Fantasy XII, what year is that? So this is when I quit. This is when I started taking So 2000, yep, 2006. This exactly corresponds with my studies, because so I quit playing video games. So I quit putting all of my slack and my time and effort into playing video games, into PlayStation 2, PlayStation and Nintendo, Sega, fucking Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. I've wasted hundreds, thousands of hours of my life in video games. Not wasted. I truly loved it, and it made me who I am today. But I quit playing video games in 2006 because of Final Fantasy 12. And because I'm such a perfectionist, apparently Virgos are perfectionists, that I couldn't. I needed to beat a specific a boss character to get a legendary sword, and it's only available in that at that point in the story. Once you go past it, you can't go back. And I wasn't leveled up, powerful enough to beat the boss and get the sword. So I quit playing video games for like pretty much 10 years. But I quit playing video games in 2006, and I devoted my time then on. Actually, I became a teacher. I started to question and write books, and the book that I still have, and that was when I started to question the heliocentric model. And then 2007, my brother passed away, and then it was pretty much a depression for a year. So in 2000, during the 2008, after 2007, I became a teacher at the Stanley G. Falk School. Actually, the principal reached out to me and wanted me to basically replace my brother. And I worked with those kids, those kids for a year, and it was truly riveting and a healing experience for myself and for the kids. And I learned a lot about the system and what's going on with how they foster homes, foster children, and how they treat kids, and holy shit, how parents treat kids, and how certain teachers treat kids, how certain schools treat kids. I'm like, holy shit, this shit is crazy. And then I actually I started to get a little wacky. I was dating one of the women at the Stanley G. Falk School. You're not supposed to. That's totally PC. You're not supposed to date your coworkers. But so then actually I ended up making the decision that I was going to drive across to basically pursue my comedic goals, and that's when I drove across in late 2000, so 2009. I drove over October 2009 to Los Angeles from New York, and the journey keeps on going. Yeah, I didn't even play Final Fantasy 13. Like, what the And I'm totally going to play Final Fantasy 13. Final Fantasy 14 is basically the sequel to Final Fantasy 11, the first online game. So it's like the second online game, even though there's like expansions on the first one. And this is Final Fantasy 15, and I just beat this game this past year, and I've easily put over 100 hours. I got back to my childhood this past year. I've been getting my slack back. The Church of the SubGenius has really helped me out. Flat Earth was a really big aid. And then the Church of the SubGenius. And then I combined my Slack, getting back, and shitting all over the conspiracy and pooping all over the conspiracy. Combined the flat Earth with the SubGenius, with the Church of the SubGenius, and now flat Earth SubGenius. Thus, epic game, really good game. Oh, and by the way, they just showed here a tiny little fraction of a second. This right here is a giant turtle. The final boss of the game is a giant fucking turtle. Wouldn't you know it? Well, it's not that. It's that. Wait, is that it? No, that's a different Titan. No, this is a giant Titan who's about to punch this little man. So the whole game is riddled with Titans. The giant turtle Maturin, who is the turtle that we're on the back of right now. Believe it or not, it's flat and round, and we're on the back of a fucking space turtle, folks. Okay? You see the giant crystal in the middle? The giant crystal is the theme in Final Fantasy. The giant crystal in the middle of Mount Muru. Yeah, Final Fantasy knows. Well, that was wonderful. Oh, it makes me shed a tear. There's probably I'm gonna guess there are 8, 9, or that's too many guesses. I'll guess there's 10 people here. Oh, I don't know. It says 13. I doubt it. Oh, dude, Dread, you beat the newest one. Dread, you beat Final Fantasy 15 as well. Oh, we're on 13 now, I think. Musa Moon Sword, yeah, dude. Moose Moon Sword. No, it's like Masamune. The Internet Time Machine. I was 28, Wes says. I was 3. What's up, Wes? Musicians for Truth. Get your Slack back. All you gotta do is pay $35 to Bob. Actually, right now, there's a special deal going on in the Church of the SubGenius. Wes, you can save one of your children or a significant other. Here, actually, I'll show you. It's saved 2 souls for 1 right now at the Church of the SubGenius. So if you want to get eternal salvation, all it takes is $35. But right now we have a special deal: buy 1, get 1 free. So you can save 2 souls instead of 1. Eternal. Oops, Jesus. Eternal salvation. Oh, actually, I'll just go Church of the SubGenius. Yeah, right now my church. See, we got a special deal going on right now, guys. So you can become an ordained minister right now. It's a Slack Friday holidays, only 2 for 1 ordainment special. So you can save and ordain 2 souls for the price of 1. It's quite a deal, folks. Quite a deal. I suggest you go search that out. Become an ordained minister. Click here. All you gotta do. Slack Friday, holiday gift, or Damon special. Buy one, get one free. Oh, you only have 5 days left. December 23rd is your deadline. 2 SubGenius or Damon kits for only $35 plus postage. Save yourself and a loved one. Or save the loved one plus a deceased ancestor. Or save a beloved pet or a potted plant and a total stranger. Or a hated famous person at random. Or just keep the kits yourself, thus denying the salvation to 2 despised enemies. It's entirely up to you. If one or both are meant to be gifts, you can tell us where to send that customer in the customer instructions section of the payment page. I really suggest you take advantage of this special, insane $35 2-for-1 SubGenius membership Slack Friday special sale. Click the sacred button below. All you gotta do, folks, it's that simple. 2-for-1. I bought it for, I'm a stupid idiot. I'm almost a pink boy for spending the whole $35 and only getting 1 soul saved. You're getting 2. Sheesh. I'm almost as good as a salesman as Bob. Bob is giving me these powers because he trusts in my subgeniusness. He trusts. He feels he should give me more slack. I need slack abuse, Bob. Abuse me. Abuse me, Bob. Oh yeah, this is funny. Watch this. Let's do this live, folks. So I noticed this. Somebody else told me earlier. Watch this. I'm gonna go to GIF, type in GIF, and I'm gonna type in fakery. Now watch what happens. And wait, what? They changed it? No. I'm gonna do that one more time. They're trying to change this shit. Hold on, watch. Fakery. What? Okay, there we go. See, look. But think fakery. Here, let's type in fakery again. Fakery. 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 Let's type it in again. Fakery. Fakery. Oh. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, this shit is fucking too funny, man. You're seeing it here live. Bakery. ISS. Da 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 do. Dee dee da da da. Da 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 dee dee dee. Dee dee da da da. Da 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 ba da ba. Dee 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 doo. Da 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 dee da. Da 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 dee. Doo dee da. Doo doo. Oopsies. What you're seeing here is a mirage. Ba-da-da-dee-dee-da. Fickery, fickery. Hi, I'm a man. I'm Sarah Silverman. I've been fucked by every man in Hollywood, especially every comedian. That's it, folks. Oh. Nope. One last one. Dad be dad. All right. I'm going to do one more of these. Animation? How about animation? Nice. Here we go.
I told the story about
All right, check this out. All right, check this out.
I told the story about how in the Amazon, when all this stuff was breaking loose, I went through this period where very calmly and deeply and without having any need to tell anyone, I thought, I came to the opinion that I was like enlightened. And it was this very low-key thing. It was all about appropriate behavior. This was the cognitive hallucination that I was having about appropriate behavior. And I had this idea there's an appropriate way to do everything. And if you do it the appropriate way, no energy will be lost. And so you become like superconducting. You become like some kind of super Tai Chi character where you just do things so nippily that there's no problem, whether it's plucking a flower or moving a boulder. And I was told, when you think, sit on the ground. There were all these teachings, and they were very simple. They were things like, sit on the ground, stupid, and, use your fingers. That was a big teaching. Use your fingers. So one of the things I was into was how you wash the pot. We had one pot. It was this little enamel pot. And we would bake it over a fire, and we baked beans, and we baked rice, and all these terrible things that would get scum on the bottom. And so it was a big deal about drawing lots for who washed the pot. Well, I discovered in my enlightened state that we had been doing it all wrong. And that if you would go down to the water with the pot and take sand and pat it very, very lightly in the bottom, and then say, please But then all you had to do was pour water into the pot and swish it around and empty it like that. And then when you looked in, it would be like Drano. It would just be blinding white. And I did this several times, and I thought, how appropriate, a miracle this is. This is a real miracle. I mean, this is just simple stuff. It's totally here and now. It's absolutely Taoist, completely, on and on. So then I had a critic in our crowd. And so I thought that I would enlighten the critic by a wordless demonstration of my obvious command of the howling Tao. So I invited the critic to accompany me to the river. And I said, and now notice that I pick up the sand, I pat it into the bottom, I'm not agitating it, I look into the sky and I say, please. And then I put water in it and I swish it around. Voila! I said, is something supposed to happen? And I look and the crud is here. And then this person says, I pity you. And I would pity you more, but you alarm me.
That's my boy. That's Terrence, the living legend, who still lives. All right, another one. Butterfly story. Yes. Now. Huh? What is this? All right, man. So what? Um. A critic. How about that? Critic. Fuck. Man, there's so many new ones. Jesus fucking Christ. That's the thing. I I did so well. I thought I listened to every single one of these motherfuckers, but there's just so many. It's just endless. And now I can't even find the thing that I wanted to show you. The danger is madness. Oh, that sounds interesting. I'm gonna have to listen to this one in my own time.
I was wondering if you thought.
Alright, so how about Terrence McKenna walking through the forest? Son of a gun. Ah! Washing the pan. Washing the pot. Okay, getting closer. Because that's the one we just watched. Potheads. Alright, so how about washing the pot? God damn it. Oh, nice. I like that. I like those lyrics. Alright, well, fuck it. Voila. How do you spell voila? Wa. 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 Voila? How the fuck do you spell voila? Voila! Seriously, how the fuck do you spell that? No, how do you spell voila? Voila, or something like that. Or like, no, it's woola, so voila. How do you spell voila? La? That's Wayla. Oh, with a V. Those stinking bastards. So. Like that? Like voila? Voila. Vula. It looks like vula. Oh, we'll see what happens.
Society misrepresents drugs tremendously. For example, we all know the stereotyped image of the pothead. The pothead can't work, can't remember. It's the inarticulate, dumb hippie image. Well, I've never met anyone with a deeper devotion to cannabis than myself. And, I'm very proud of my memory and my ability to get verbally organized under almost any condition. So I completely violate the stereotype of what it is to be a pothead. Well, how many people are there like that? I mean, I'm always amazed when people say, no, I don't want to smoke any pot. It'll mess with my memory. I mean, really? How peculiar. So what you have to do is just like every other thing, everything you've been told is wrong, and you have to take life by the handlebars and figure out what's really going on, which doesn't mean that you're reckless. I mean, there are bad drugs, there are bad politics, there are bad relationships.
That's a shame. I can't find it. But you know what? I should probably close this down and get ready. No one knows how to spell fucking voila. Alright, yeah, I should probably get going, and I'm gonna go live in a little bit. Probably, I think at like 4:30. Let me check. Oh, no, that's not true at all. Yeah, if I would go live, it would be at 7:30. Plenty of time to get some shit done. Alright, if that's the case, I should probably listen to this then.
I'm just gonna shush you to sleep now. Shh. There. Sleep. Watch out.
If you're suffering, you are obligated, in a sense, to hold on to whatever rope someone throws you. Life can be meaningful enough to justify its suffering. You can tyrannize yourself into doing things, but I wouldn't recommend it. What I would recommend instead is that you ask yourself what you're willing to do. It's a really effective technique. It's like a meditative technique. That's when life is worthwhile. I don't know exactly what's going to help you, but don't arbitrarily throw out any possibilities because you might not have that luxury. Antidepressants help a lot of people, and there are technical reasons why that's the case. If you're offered a gift by your society that works, try it. I don't care what your presuppositions are. The time you see people who are suffering with depression, for example. There's a multitude of reasons, but I'll take one common reason. You can think about it as associated with the story of Peter Pan. Peter Pan is someone who won't grow up, right? Now, the problem with Peter Pan is he gets to be king, but it's king of Neverland. Neverland doesn't exist. So being king of nothing isn't that helpful. Well, one of the things that you often see with people who suffer from depression, and I'm not making a blanket statement about the cause of depression because there's lots of it, is that people who don't have enough order in their life tend to get overwhelmed. So, for example, if someone comes into me to see me and they say they're depressed, I always ask them a very standard set of questions. Do you have a job? If you don't have a job, you're really in trouble in our society. First of all, your biological rhythms tend to go off the rails right away. There's no reason to go to bed at any particular time. There's no reason to get up. And for many people, if they don't get up at the same time, they follow up functioning with their circadian rhythms, and that's enough to make them depressed about that, especially if they start out in the afternoon. They also don't have a purpose. People aren't good without a purpose. And this isn't hypothesized. We absolutely understand the circuitry of the underlying emotion. When you're attending to something you're interested in and you're engaged in it, that's when you're alive. That's when life is worthwhile. It's so worthwhile that in those moments you don't even ask the question about it. The question itself goes away because the meaning that you're united with is so powerful that it can push back the adversity that would otherwise characterize life. Nietzsche said, the person who has a why can bear any how. We know how it works. Almost all the positive emotion that any of you are likely to experience in life will not be a consequence of hating things. It will be a consequence of seeing that things are working as you proceed towards a goal you value. That's completely different. And you need to know this because people are often stunned, for example, they finish their PhD thesis, and their presupposition is that they're going to be elated for a month, and often instead they're actually depressed. Well, I've been working on this for 7 years, and I haven't been in it. What do I do now? And that's what depresses them, right? So what do I do now? Well, they're fine if they enjoyed it, pursuing the thing, as long as it was working out. They get a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about that, because that's how our nervous systems work. Most of your positive emotion is goal pursuit emotion. If you take drugs like cocaine or amphetamine, the reason they're enjoyable is because they turn on the systems that help you pursue goal. That's what people like. So if you don't have a job, you got no structure, that's not good. Plus, you tend not to have a point. So you're overwhelmed by chaotic lack of structure, and you don't have any positive emotion. Assuming you want to get better, there's usually something you can figure out that would constitute a step towards some sort of concrete goal. And my presumption, it's a behavioral presumption fundamentally, is that small accruing gains that repeat are unbelievably powerful. You can tyrannize yourself into doing things, but I wouldn't recommend it. What I would recommend instead is that you ask yourself what you're willing to do. It's a really effective technique. It's like a meditative technique. So, for example, you can get up in the morning and you can think, well, I'd like to have a good day today, so I'd like to go to bed tonight without feeling guilty because I'm going to do some things I said I was going to do, and I'd like to have kind of an interesting day. So I fulfill my responsibilities, and I want to, enjoy the day. Then you can ask yourself, well, okay, what would I have to do in order for that to happen that I would do? And the probability, if you practice this for 3 or 4 days, is your brain will just tell you and say, well, there's that piece of homework that you haven't done for like 3 weeks. You should knock that sucker off because it'll only take you 10 minutes, and you'll be avoiding it and torturing yourself to death for 72 hours straight. And so, well, let's figure out what your aims are. You've got to have some aims, whatever they are. And they might say, well, I'm so depressed I don't have any aims. And then I say, well, pick the least objectionable of the aims and act it out for a while and see what happens. Because sometimes your emotional systems are so fouled up that you have to pretend, you have to act the thing out before you can start to believe it. Life can be meaningful enough to justify its suffering. God, that's such a good idea. Because it's not optimistic exactly. Some people will tell you, well, you can be happy. It's like, those people are idiots. I'm telling you, they're idiots. There's going to be things that come along that flatten you so hard you won't believe it. And you're not happy then. And so if life is to be happy, well, in those situations, what are you doing? Why even live? But life isn't to be happy. If you're happy, you're bloody fortunate, and you should enjoy it. You should, because it's the grace of God, so to speak. People know when they're doing something meaningful. They can tell. So why the hell don't they do meaningful things all the time? It seems obvious. You could do it. I mean, it's hard, because other people want you to do other things. And it's a struggle, but everything's a struggle. Oh, I get it. I see why. It took me about 10 years to figure this out. People have a choice. Choice number 1, nothing you do means anything. Well, that's kind of a drag, right? The meaninglessness of life and all that, existential angst. That's kind of a pain. But the upside of nothing that you do is meaningful is you don't have to do anything. You've got no responsibility. Now, you have to suffer because things are meaningless, but that's a small price to pay. The alternative is everything you do matters. Really. If you make a mistake, it's a real mistake. If you betray someone, you tilt the world a little more sharply towards evil rather than good. It matters what you do. Well, if you buy that, then you can have a meaningful life. But there's no mucking around. It means responsibility. It means that the decisions you make are important. It means that when you do something wrong, it's wrong. Well, do you want that? If you take people and you expose them voluntarily to things that they are avoiding and are afraid of, that they know they need to overcome in order to meet their goals, their self-defined goals. If you can teach people to stand up in the face of the things they're afraid of, they get stronger. And you don't know what upper limits to that are, because you might ask yourself, like, if for 10 years, if you didn't avoid doing what you knew you needed to do, what would you be like? Well, there are remarkable people who come into the world from time to time. There are people who do find out over decades-long periods what they could be like if they were who they were, if they spoke their being forward. And they get stronger and stronger and stronger. We don't know the limits to that. We do not know the limits to that. Probably running at about 51% of our capacity. Something you can think about this yourself. I often ask undergraduates how many hours a day you waste or how many hours a week you waste. And the classic answer is something like 4 to 6 hours a day. Inefficient studying, watching things on YouTube that not only do you not want to watch, that you don't even care about, that make you feel horrible about watching after you're done. That's probably 4 hours right there. You think, well, that's 20, 25 hours a week. It's 100 hours a month. That's 2.5 full work weeks. It's half a year of work weeks per year. And so if your life isn't everything it could be, you could ask yourself, well, what would happen if you just stopped wasting the opportunities that are in front of you? You'd be, who knows how much more efficient, 10 times more efficient, 20 times more efficient. That's the Pareto distribution. You have no idea how efficient people get. It's off the charts. It's not so obvious to me that people would take the meaningful path. When you say, well, nihilists suffer dreadfully because there's no meaning in their life, and they still suffer. Yeah, but the advantage is they have no responsibility. So that's the payoff, and I actually think that's the motivation. Say, well, I can't help being nihilistic. All my belief systems have collapsed. It's like, yeah, maybe you just allowed them to collapse because it's a hell of a lot easier than acting them out. And the price you pay is some meaningless suffering. But you can always whine about that, and people will feel sorry for you. If you live a pathological life, you pathologize your society. And if enough people do that, then it's hell. Really, really.
Double A's. Batteries you trust in your controller. Because when these are your
Become productive. Okay, I'm going to become a little bit more productive today. I'm doing my part here. I'm just trying to help other people out too. Let's see here. By the way, what happened? What happened?
You're asked to outline the place you'd like to end up, which is your desired future, and also the place that you could end up if you let everything fall apart, is so that your anxiety chases you and your approach systems pull you forward. You're maximally motivated yet. And it's important because otherwise you can be afraid of pursuing the things that you want to pursue, right? And that's very common. And so then the fear inhibits you as the promise pulls you forward, but it makes you weak because you're afraid. You want to get your fear behind you, pushing you. And so what you want to be is more afraid of not pursuing your goals than you are of pursuing them. Putting yourself in a challenging mind frame is much easier on you psychophysiologically because you don't go into the generalized stress response to the same degree. And you're activating your exploratory and seeking systems, which are dopaminergically mediated and that involve positive emotion. So if you can face something voluntarily rather than having it chase you, it's way better for you psychophysiologically. So that's partly why, well, it's worthwhile to go find the dragon in its lair instead of waiting for it to come and eat you. So, and especially when you also add the idea that if you go find the dragon in its lair, you might find it when it's a baby instead of a full-fledged bloody monster that is definitely going to take you down. Don't avoid small problems that you know are there. Face them, because they'll grow into big problems all by themselves. And you can think about, imagine the tax department sends you a notification. You owe them like $300. Well, you know, that's annoying. Maybe you don't even want to open the letter. Or maybe if you do, you just put it on the shelf. That damn thing doesn't just sit there like a piece of paper on the shelf, right? You ignore that for 5 or 6 years, it's going to become attached to all sorts of horrible things. And if you ignore it long enough, you get the idea. It's going to turn into something that is completely unlike the little piece of paper that it's written on. And many, many problems in life are like that. You'll see that they pop their ugly little head up, and you know, and you might want to turn away. You might not want to think about it, which is the easiest way of turning away, right? You just don't attend to it. You know, if you could have your life the way you wanted it in 3 to 5 years, if you were taking care of yourself properly, you know, what would you want from your friendships? What would you want from your intimate relationship? How would you like to structure your family? What do you want for your career? Well, how are you going to use your time outside of your job? And how are you going to regulate your mental and physical health, and maybe also your drug and alcohol use? Because that's a good place to auger down. You know, because alcoholism, for example, wipes out 5 to 10% of people. So you want to keep that under control. And then, so maybe you develop a vision of what you would like your life to be, and that associates the goal. Once the goal is established, and then you break down the goal into micro processes that you can implement. The micro processes become rewarding in relation to their causal association with the goal, and that tangles in your incentive reward system. And that's the thing that keeps you moving forward. And the way it works is that it works better if it produces positive emotion when it can see you moving towards a valued goal. Okay, well, what's the implication of that? Better have a valued goal, because otherwise you can't get any positive motivation working out. And so the more valuable the goal, in principle, the more the micro processes associated with that goal start to take on a positive charge. And so what that means is, well, you get up in the morning and you're excited about the day, you're ready to go. And so as far as I can tell, what you do is you specify your long-term ideal. Maybe you also specify a place you want to stay the hell away from, so that you're terrified to fail as well as excited about succeeding, because that's also useful. You specify your goal. You do that in some sense as a unique individual. You want to specify goals that make you say, oh, if that could happen as a consequence of my efforts, it would clearly be worthwhile. Because the question always is, why do something? Because doing nothing is easy. You just sit there and you don't do anything. That's real easy. The question is, why would you ever do anything? And the answer to that has to be because you've determined by some means that it's worthwhile. Number one, specify your damn goals. Because how are you going to hit something if you don't know what it is? That isn't going to happen. And often people won't specify their goals too, because they don't like to specify conditions for failure. So if you keep yourself all vague and foggy, which is real easy, because that's just a matter of not doing as well, then you don't know when you fail. And people might say, well, I really don't want to know when I fail because that's painful. So I'll keep myself blind about when I fail. That's fine, except you fail all the time then. You just won't know it until you failed so badly that you're done. Okay, so once you get your goal structure set up, you think, okay, if I can have this life, looks like that might be worth living, despite the fact that it's going to be, anxiety-provoking and threatening. There's going to be some suffering and loss involved in all of that. Obviously, the goal is to have a vision for your life such that, all things considered, that justifies your effort. Okay, so then what do you do? Well, then you turn down to micro routines. It's like, okay, well, this is what I'm aiming for. How does that instantiate itself day to day, week to week, month to month? And that's where something like a schedule can be unbelievably useful. Google Calendar. It's like, make a damn schedule and stick to it. Okay, so what's the rule with the schedule? It's not a bloody prison. That's the first thing that people do wrong. They say, well, I don't like to have to follow the schedule. It's like, well, what kind of schedule are you setting up? Well, I have to do this, then I have to do this, then I have to do this, and then I just go play video games, because who wants to do all these things that I have to do? It's like, wrong. Set the damn schedule up so that you have the day you want. What's the right ratio of responsibility to reward? And you can ask yourself that, just like you negotiate with someone who is working for you. It's like, okay, you got to work tomorrow. Okay, so I want you to work tomorrow. And you might say, okay, well, what are you going to do for me that makes it likely that I'll work for you? Well, you can ask yourself that, Maybe you do an hour of responsibility and then you play a video game for 15 minutes. I don't know, whatever turns your crank, man. But, you have to negotiate with yourself and not tyrannize yourself. Like you're negotiating with someone that you care for, that you would like to be productive and have a good life. And that's how you make the schedule. It's like, and then you look at the day and think, well, if I had that day, that'd be good. Great. And you're useless and horrible, so you'll probably only hit it with about 70% accuracy, but that beats the hell out of 0. Right? And if you hit it even with 50% accuracy, another rule is, well, aim for 51% the next week, or 50.5% for God's sake, or because you're going to hit that position where things start to loop back positively and spiral you upward. And so that's one way that you can work on your conscientiousness, is plan a life you like to have. The other way you do that is by having a little conversation with yourself about, as if you don't really know who you are, because you know what you like. You won't do what you're told. You won't do what you tell yourself to do. You must have noticed that. It's like you're a bad employee and a worse boss, and both of those work, for you. You don't know what you want to do, and then when you tell yourself what to do, you don't do it anyway. So you should fire yourself and find someone else to be. But my point is that you have to understand that you're not your own servant, so to speak. You're someone that you have to negotiate with, and you're someone that you want to present the opportunity of having a good life to. And that's hard for people because they don't like themselves very much. So, they're always like cracking the whip and then procrastinating, and cracking the whip and then procrastinating. It's like, God, so boring and such a pathetic way of spending your time. And you know what that's like, because you probably waste like 6 hours a day. And I think we did an economic calculation about that a while back, right? Your time's probably worth $50 an hour, something like that. I mean, you're not getting it now, but you're young. And so this is investment time. And what you do now is going to multiply its effects in the future. So let's say it's $50 an hour, which is perfectly reasonable. So if you waste 6 hours a day, and you are, then you're wasting about $2,000 a week, or about $100,000 a year. So go ahead, but that's what it's costing you every hour. And you need to know what your damn time is worth. So let's say it's not $50, it's 30, whatever. Maybe it's 100. It's somewhere in that range. One of the things you should be asking yourself is, when you spend an hour, was that, well, what if I paid someone $50 to have had that hour? And if the answer is no, it's like, well, maybe you should do something else with your time. And it depends on whether or not you think that your time's worthwhile. But the funny thing about not assuming that is, if you assume your time isn't worthwhile, what happens is you don't just sit around sort of randomly in a state of responsibility-less bliss. What you do is you suffer existentially. And so that seems like a stupid solution.
Stone of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. It sometimes even shut the fuck up.
Imagine someone that you treat well, that you love, and try to treat yourself that way. You got to detach from yourself a bit. You got to think, okay, well, I'm a person among other people, and I deserve at least as much respect as a person among other people, and I should be trying to help myself across time. Instead of being self-contemptuous and self-destructive, I need to take care of myself as if I'm potentially valuable, and to lay out my life that way. And so that's what that chapter is about. And it's hard for people. They don't take care of themselves as well as they should. And I don't mean, take care of yourself. I mean, that is what I mean. It's like, it's not a moralistic attack. It's like, it's an encouragement to give yourself a bit of the benefit of the doubt. Take care of your room, take care of your things. It's like, have some respect for yourself. It's like there's a lot of potential within you, and there's many things that you can do, and you're necessary more than you think to the unfolding of things. Like, if you make a bunch of bad decisions, things get worse, not just for you. Like, things get worse. And so it matters what you do. And so part of what you do is you want to treat yourself as if what you do matters. And so you want to have some respect for yourself. young people like to think about ways to change the world, right? And that's actually a positive part of their development. It's a stage that the developmental psychologist Jean Piaget called the messianic stage, and he associated that with late adolescence. Well, young people want to change the world. The problem is that that's being harnessed into attempts to change other people. But that isn't what you should do. If you want to change the world, you should change yourself. In the sense that Alexander Solzhenitsyn said when he analyzed the Soviet Union, he said, don't be thinking that the line that divides good from evil runs down a political spectrum or countries or something like that. It runs down right down the middle of your soul. And if you want to sort out the world, then what you do is you sort yourself out. It's a serious business. You say it's more difficult to rule yourself than to rule a city. Because you're complicated and there are horrible monsters inside of you that need to be tamed and to be brought into alignment and submission so that you can be a powerful and useful person. And instead of rushing out there to change the world by changing other bad people, that they should look inward and sort themselves out properly. And if you have a memory that's more than 18 months old, approximately, and when you pull that memory up to mind, if you still have an emotional reaction, that means you haven't fully articulated the memory. You haven't analyzed it causally. You haven't freed yourself from its grasp, and you're carrying it like a weight. And your brain responds to that. Like the more weight you're carrying like that, more baggage, let's say, the more of the stress hormone cortisol your brain produces. And cortisol makes you old. Divide your life up into 6 epochs. And then divide each of those, that might be, say, birth to kindergarten, and then the elementary school, and then maybe junior high school, however you want to do it. And then to write about the emotionally significant events in each of those epochs, and then to describe their effect on you, and then to analyze how you did in those situations, what you might have done differently, what you might do differently in the future, to straighten out the past. Or if you're thinking about your past, what it means is you haven't analyzed the causal chains. Because you might say, well, why do you remember your past? Well, you might say, well, it's in order to have an objective record of the past. It's like it has nothing to do with that. There's only one reason you remember the past, and that's to be prepared for the future. That's why you remember the past. And so what you're supposed to do is take the past and extract out from it wisdom. And wisdom is the ability to avoid stumbling blindly into ditches. Here's a time in my past, I stumbled blindly into this horrible ditch and terrible things happened. You need to take that apart. You need to figure out how was it that events conspired with your participation, voluntarily or involuntarily, so that terrible consequence emerged. You need to know why that happened and how you could react differently in that situation. As soon as you do that, your brain will leave you alone. It won't obsess you about it anymore, because the anxiety-producing parts of your brain are basically trying to tell you where there are obstacles in your environment. Don't go there, there's fire. If you can master the fire, right, then you're a wielder of fire, you're not just a victim. And lots of situations are dangerous or not dangerous depending on your level of mastery, right? Life is like that. So a negative emotion that's associated with a memory is something that's crying out for mastery, and writing can really help with that. You reorganize in the brain when you write autobiographically. Imagine emotion, memories can be stored at different levels of your brain, some sort of primordial reptilian image-laden areas that are very emotional, up to finely articulated plans for your future life. Well, you want to take everything that's negative and emotional and transform that into a fully articulated vision for your future. And that frees you of your past. You shouldn't be thinking about your past. Maybe if you're 80 and you're going over a well-spent life, that's a whole different thing. But if you're 30, 35, or 20, and most of the time you're thinking about your past, it's like your soul is trapped back there. You need to free it through investigation. And the metaphysical language is appropriate, because that is, in a sense, what you're doing. You're trapped in the past. It's like you've got to break free of that so you can use all your resources to move ahead into the future.
I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinions of himself than on the opinions of others.
So tonight is called Dissolving the Veil. Ooh, dissolving the veil. Just saying, they just say it like that, dissolving the veil. So how was it tonight? Well, he talked about his relationship and it was awesome and risking it all for love and dissolving the veil. Dissolving the veil. And you know, we hear that term in spirituality a lot, dissolving the veil. But what does that really mean? That's the first thing we have to really examine. What does it really mean to First of all, if we're dissolving the veil, I think we should become clear on the veil, don't you think? Because you ever get around a lot of people who are into okay, we're going to dissolve the veil. Hey, just before we dissolve the veil, I have a question. What's the veil? And most people don't actually know. So it's very strange to be a part of a global spiritual movement trying to dissolve something that we don't know what we're dissolving. Which is probably why it seems like it's taking a long time to dissolve the veil, because would you agree that it's difficult to dissolve the veil if you don't know what the veil is? If I'm looking for my car keys, but I don't know I'm looking for my car keys, I'm just looking. And if I'm just looking, I'm just wandering around. And you see, when we all band together in the love revolution, impressive things are going to happen. But I think we have to first get on the same page. Before we can dissolve the veil, I think we have to know what the veil is. So dissolving the veil is speaking of the veil of perception. There is seeing and there is perception. A lot of people think they're the same thing. And in most cases, you could say they're synonyms. But because words are so perfect, if they're spelled differently, they must be differently. So there's seeing and there's perceiving. It's kind of like seeing is the noticing of objects. Perceiving is the recognition of what you've concluded or what you believe about the objects in view. Does that make sense? Seeing is staring at a movie screen. Perceiving is tracking your own personal experience or judgment of it. And the reason why perception is a veil is because the veil means you're seeing something in a way you think is the way everyone is seeing it, and you don't realize it's only the way you see it. And then you're waking up, and I'm not saying it like perceiving is the new bad thing, like, ooh, oh my God, look at those people over there, they're just perceiving their asses off. This is not like a bad thing. I'm not saying stop perceiving. I just want us to be clear on what it actually means so that you can actually experience awakening consciousness within you. When you wake up, it's not that you stop perceiving, it's that you're not lost in perceiving. Does that make sense? You're not lost in perception. You're not lost in the belief that the way you see it is the way it is. It's only that way to you. It's kind of like you can watch TV and be totally flipped out about whatever political thing's happening with whatever person on TV, whatever candidate or character, and you go, I can't believe they're doing this. This is an outrage. And let me keep in mind, perhaps only I am seeing it this way. In that moment, a one-person outrage. And collective consciousness is when a one-person outrage finds like-minded people. And then we go, oh, we're all thinking like this. And then it becomes a bigger veil of perception. So let's talk about what it means to perceive. Because again, we talk about illusion, which I haven't talked about in the past. Because everything is, and I'll talk about more of this tomorrow, everything is a version of the truth. Everything is a byproduct of truth. There is a truth, and the truth always gets bigger. And just when you think you see a truth, it becomes more truthier. And the truth is like a staircase. You step onto the first step, that's truth. But that step gets you to the next highest one. And then you step onto that step, and it's a different truth. And it doesn't mean the one before it was less than. It means that's the truth you had to get to before the next one. So everything always changes. And what the mind wants to do is lock everything into absolute. The only thing that's absolute about truth is that everything is truth. It may not be truthful to you, or it may seem truthful and then no longer be the case, but it's all truth.
So when I talk about illusion, it is simply seeing the difference between your perception of things and the clarity of seeing. Yeah, I'm going to explain this in such a simple way that is so simple, it's either going to click into place immediately and you go, oh my God, I feel better. Or you're going to go, what? Like, it's so simple, it will confuse you. So in order to dissolve the veil, we have to see how we pull this magic trick of perception off. How do we pull the magic trick of perception off? Very simple. And it has to do with how you were conditioned and raised as a child to get along in this world. And I'm not saying perception is bad. I'm saying it's kind of like when you're in a dream and you don't know you're dreaming, and then you wake up and go, I'm in a dream. You don't leave the dream, you just act awake. So this is not about leaving perception, this is about being awake in perception. So what does it mean to perceive? And we use words because words are perfect. Perception is recognizing that all things exist, but the relationships between things are imaginary. For example, what if I were to tell you that even one of the highest spiritual experiences, all is one? That is a very powerful perception, but it's not the highest truth. And I'll challenge and show you why. Just look at the words. All is one. All is real. One is real. Is the bridge of imagination. All is all. One is one. To say all is one is just a bigger way of seeing things. I'll give you a different example. My day is good. My day is my day. Good is good. Linking them together, now you're in a very pleasantly smelling imagination. That's perception. That's a judgment, not a bad judgment. Hey, if you're going to be in judgment, you got to have a good day, right? My day is bad. No such thing. My day is my day. Bad is bad. Putting them together, now you're in an adverse imagination. So what does it feel like in this moment? And again, isn't it funny how you can just, like right now, you feel the energy just dissolving out of your mind. And you know what that is? That's samadhi. That's what I'm transmitting. You're feeling the transmission of samadhi waking up inside of you. And the energy in the room gets thicker, like all smoky, because we're talking about truth. And when we talk about truth, truth wakes up in you. Or here's another fun one. I am fill in the blank. Right? I am that. In this dream of perception, I am that. And for me, owning that is a part of my journey. But in truth, I am as I am, Matt is Matt. In fact, I am Matt is actually just is saying the same thing twice. Because what's within Matt? I am. What's I am dressed up as? Matt. So I am Matt is I am, or Matt. Same thing. Or I used to be I am Matt. Matt disappeared, now I'm just I am. Same thing. Matt fell away, now I'm just Matt. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Perception is the imaginary relationship between things. What is life experience? The infinite experiences, the infinite artistry of relationship. What's in relationship is divinity. That's real. The divine in you is real. The divine in me is real. The connection between the two things as if they're two separate things coming together, that's dream of perception. So this is the dream that oneness is having. And it's a dream called separation. But the reason why you can't get rid of separation is because it doesn't exist. And the reason why you can't get rid of separation is because this is the exact dream that oneness wants to have. So what's blocking the disillusion of separation? Oneness. Isn't that a mind swirl? Oh my God, what's stopping separation from being dissolved? Oneness. Why? Because this is the dream oneness wants to have. And use the perception of separation to awaken oneness into the dream of form. And in order to be the oneness, not the one chasing it, you wake up within perception. So let's talk about an easy way to do this. As your mind continues to melt. Very simple way to do this. Very simple. And what we do is we separate our belief in cause and effect. That's all you have to do. In perception, it seems as if people, places, and things cause you to feel a certain way. The truth is, you are always going to feel a certain way, and people, places, and things just remind you what you forgot you were about to feel. Oh, I forget that I'm about to feel sad. And I manifested people, places, and things to be the characters that made me sad, to remember the sadness that was always going to arise. When you are awake in the dream of perception, there are the activity and actions of characters, there are your feelings about it, and they're two separate events. They're not related at all. Like even if you tell someone your day, do you know why there exist people to ask you about your day? Because it's life trying to wake you up to clarity. Because if you really hear yourself, you said, I was walking down the street. That's one action, independent. And then this car drove by and hit a puddle, independent action, and covered me in gross water, independent action. But in perception, it's all related, isn't it? I was walking down the street, and if it wasn't for the car hitting the puddle and drenching me, I wouldn't be in this moment of discomfort and frustration. And if you think of it like the filming of a movie is flashes of images that are in a film reel, right? Like images that are stacked in a certain order, and they're flashing at such a speed it looks like one thing leads to the other. But if you look at a reel of film, it's just a bunch of separate images stacked in order. They're not connected at all. It just seems that way. I was happy, and then my significant other dumped me, and now I'm upset, and I blame them. So what is a sign that you are asleep in perception? The tendency to blame, because blame is linking cause with effect. Here's the effect. Let me find what caused it. No such thing. Just to test it out in your life, because I know I say things that are simple, but they're very deep, and it could be very challenging to the mind that wants to hold on to what it thinks is its grip of reality. So I am aware that this might be clicking deeply and just a surreal moment of clarity, or it might be challenging, and it's okay. Because you have to be willing to risk it all. Just be a little bit crazy in order to see clearly. And all you have to be able to risk is just seeing through your personal view of things. And that's how you let go of your personal fight. Because what is your fight? Fighting for your version of things. I'm seeing this clearly. Who do you blame? And you make a list. Yep, you're sleeping. You're sleeping. Who do you blame? Let's just challenge this. Let's test this. And if you happen to feel good when you say these words, let that be a confirmation to you. Because I want you to embrace what's true for you. I'm just here to open up the field. And even if you don't know how you feel, that's okay too. Try these words out loud. No one is to blame for how I feel.
No one is to blame for how I feel.
I'd be feeling exactly the way I do.
I'd be feeling exactly the way I do.
No matter how differently my life could be.
No matter how different my life.
Feelings change when they do.
Feelings change when they do.
Circumstances change when they do.
Circumstances change when they do.
And no amount of circumstances
And no amount of circumstances
changes how I feel,
changes how I feel,
or is the reason for why I feel. Just feel how you feel in your body. Isn't it weird? Like, I don't know what just happened, but I feel better. You didn't even do anything right to cause it. It just happened to you. Like, what happened? I don't know. It just all went silent. Did you feel that? It all just goes silent. And you know that's the traumatizing experience of awakening for the ego, that the ego, you experience the moment of awakening, but you didn't do anything right to earn it, and it traumatizes the ego. Ego can't accept awakening unless it thinks it did something right to achieve it. Like it just happens after, what? Didn't even see it coming, just whammo. Mind is done. And the real journey is the time it takes to get used to this. That's the real journey. Someone said to me, when am I going to wake up? I said, when you stop perceiving. Well, how do I stop perceiving? Well, you have to start seeing. I said, well, how do I do that? How do you do what? I said, seeing. I said, well, who do you blame for your life? And they went into the woods. I said, see, there you go. Still perceiving. Let's have a fun acid trip right now. You are seeing this in this moment. We know you are seeing this. You are seeing this moment. You are aware of this moment. You are a reporter sitting in your chair, aware of what's happening. How do you know anything you know about the one who's seeing this is real? I'm not saying you're not seeing this. I'm just questioning, what if you knew nothing about the one who sees it? What if you sat with, I'm the one seeing this, and I know nothing about that one at all? What if you are a complete mystery to yourself? If you are a complete mystery to yourself, how do you know you can be hurt? The only thing people in life can hurt are your known concepts. And the universe is dressed up as people only perceiving to hurt you, to break those constructs out of your field, and to put you back into the mystery. So isn't it weird to think that the pain we experience on a personal level is life trying to break us out of a prison we don't know we're in and return us to the mystery where we can really be safe? Isn't that weird? But all the unsafe things that happen to us are trying to return us to safety. But all the unsafe things that happen to us is like the search and rescue team who just don't have a lot of bedside manner. Isn't that weird? Someone asked me, how do I be safe in this world? Know nothing about yourself. How do I do that? How do you know anything about yourself? How do you know that anything you know about yourself is a complete dream? Bad thing. It's a dream. Nothing's wrong with knowing anything about yourself. I'm not afraid to be a person. Like I told you in the beginning. Because I'm fully awake in the dream. I know what this is. So I'm literally, this for me is performance art. This is God's performance art. What is this moment like when you don't know anything about you? There is you. But just be a question mark for 1 minute. Just be a question mark. I'm not saying you don't know who you are. What if you don't know what you are? Just don't be a what for 1 minute. Don't be a location. Don't be definable. If you for 1 minute just put aside definitions and boundaries, who's here to insist your life? Who's here to defend your life? Who's here in need of resolving your life? How do you know there's a life that needs to be resolved? Just for 1 minute, undo you. You can see, you can hear, you can feel, you can taste, you can touch, you can think, you can imagine, you can choose. Just don't decide who's doing it. If you don't decide who's doing it, then you can feel into the fact that it feels like it's being done for you and through you, where you don't have to say you're the one doing it. Do you feel the vibration in the room? That's peace. This is what heaven feels like. I went to heaven when I was 8 years old, and this is exactly what it felt like. This is your natural state. This is not expanded consciousness. This is what I call normal consciousness. Normal consciousness. And it's delicious. Nothing you do is wrong. I just want to take a moment of your time to point out truth, to see if you've noticed things. Like when you're talking about how your day unfolds in corresponding fashion, does that fit in your body? Probably not. I was doing this, and then they came up and did this, and then they said this, and I said, say what? And they said it again because I didn't think I heard them. Do you believe that? Isn't that just kind of like how blame gets perpetuated? Isn't blame organizing miscellaneous, erroneous events and putting it together with some sort of conclusion? You don't need to do that. Try these words out loud just to see what happens. You ever had an experience of like you're feeling fine and all of a sudden you feel terrible for no reason? And isn't that like more scary and daunting where you have no reason to affix to it? So a lot of the reasons why life gives you creations and people, places, and things to seemingly cause your experiences is because when experiences just happen for no reason, it's more frightening to your ego, and the universe is more merciful than that. Consider the fact that it looks like people are doing things to me is the universe being more merciful with the things that have to happen. Isn't that just an interesting way of looking at it? A little twist of, wow, that's actually merciful. And I get to choose how slowly I evolve by how many people I blame. My choice! Yay! Someone once said to me, this journey's going way too fast. Well, you should start blaming people then. Because that's how you slow it way down. Sitting in your house, feeling fantastic, and then felt awful because things were being purged out of your cellular body to lighten the load for the collective awakening, and you didn't know that, you would freak out. Oh my God, I'm sitting on my couch watching The Price is Right or whatever we do. And like now the sky is falling. So which is worse? Being lost in a reality where you have everything else to blame for your experiences? Or having experiences suddenly change and have nothing to blame for? And what would it be like if you had no interest in blaming anything or anyone? Let's say you're in a relationship and all of a sudden the person is disingenuous or becomes abusive or cheats on you. Oh, I guess it's time for that to end. You don't disregard the information and the signs you're being given, but you don't have to blame anyone. How do I know my relationship was over? When they started dating someone else. That's one way to find out. God forbid you see someone you're in a relationship with kissing someone else. Oh, we're over. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, there's that. There's that. There's that. Time to change my Facebook status. So I'm not saying don't be aware of the signs of the universe. I'm not saying don't be present with life. You can act upon what the universe is trying to tell you without blaming anyone. Like, why can't relationships end without blaming someone? They can. They can. And you can go through the grief process of losing something without blaming anyone. Wow, this sucks. This is not what I had in mind. This was not what I was banking on. Wow, I want us to be together forever. I totally thought we were, and I'm totally devastated. But if you don't blame someone, you know what? You get to be fully present with your healing experience. Wow, I thought this was the one for me, and I feel totally betrayed, devastated, and bewildered, and completely at a loss. I have been demolished. Those are the words of courage. To be able to courageously just talk about how you feel, not who you blame. See, we started out kind of weird. Because when you start waking up, it gets a little weird sometimes. Because the part of you that needs order in order to feel okay, all of a sudden gets shaken up a little bit and go, where are we? What are we doing right now? Why am I here? Who is this? Why am I listening now? I think I unplugged my mind. But now all of a sudden, we're settling into consciousness, right? It's feeling more comfortable. What if your healing journey is about accepting how you feel with absolutely no one to blame? And you might say, well, that would give people permission to just do whatever they're going to do in my life. But aren't people already doing whatever they want to do in your life? Like, aren't people already doing that? Like, you're in a relationship and all of a sudden it ended and you're the last one to find out. Like, didn't that person just do whatever they wanted to do? So it looks like your blame is not patrolling your field properly. Looks like blame is not keeping you safe, is it? Because people are going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to be who they're going to be, and you can't stop that. And that's scary for some people. That's scary. That takes two people to start a relationship and only one person to end it. That seems like a one-sided transaction. And it is. And life goes, are you willing to risk it all for love? Two people can start it, one person can end it. Ooh, that sounds scary. Oh, it is scary. It's going to be really scary. Are you willing to risk it all for love? Are you willing to risk it all for truth? Because the same thing it takes for you to dive headfirst into love is the same journey of taking God's hand and being willing to walk through the fire of adversity. Divine and say, lead me through the fire, and no matter how hot it gets, I will only praise your light. That's your vision quest. And you only walk through fires until you come up with a very Buddhist flavored realization. And I'll tell you what I realized in the middle of my deepest fire, where I had an adversity come upon me so spontaneously, and I had no sense of blaming anyone, and the situation didn't even merit blame on anyone's side. So masterfully crafted, no one to blame, just a fire erupting, a forest fire in every cell of my body that literally cooked the last remaining bits out of me from the inside out. Just incinerated me. And you know what I realized in my final incineration, my final purification, my final initiation? Because I was burning emotionally and burning and burning and burning. And then I had a realization and the burning stopped. And I'll tell you what the realization was. You can't burn a fire. I was no longer the person being burned in a fire. I was just the fire burning. And the person in the fire was the imagination of the fire. That's waking up. A fire can't be burned, and you are the fire. What is a fire made of? Light. You are the light, but light is fire. You're not the one being burnt by the fire. You're a fire that can't be burnt. Just feel that in the room. First we had peace, now we have spontaneous feelings of fearlessness. Feel how less afraid you are right now. Do you know why you're feeling less afraid? Because you're less interested in blame. The people who are the most afraid are the most likely to blame. When you have no interest in blame, what are you afraid of? People are going to do what they're going to do anyway, and you can't stop them. You can't stop them. And they can't stop you. If you have no interest in blame, there's nothing to be afraid of. Because the only thing you're afraid of are the things you're most willing to blame. You know why people are afraid of, I'm just going to use spiritual terms. And as an energetic, sensitive being, as an intuitive and a healer, I perceive the energetic realms. I see the spirit world. So I just want to help dispel something that's been out there for a little bit and give it a different spin on it. Very popular for people to see something called entities. You ever hear that? Right? Entities. The horror film of the spiritual journey. Hope there are no entities here. You ever been around someone when you don't give them what they want, or when you don't say something they like and then they accuse you of having entities in your fields? No bigger amount of spiritual bullshit than that. I had someone ask me once a long time ago. They asked me for a favor, and I said, I'm not really jiving with that. I'm not going to yes on that. Man, I seem to feel like you have some entities in your field. Are you really? I have entities in my field, so I'm not giving you what you want? Isn't that a little suspect? Do you know why people are afraid of entities? Because that's what they're willing to blame for their lives. What, you're God? And you would have fully been God But an entity got in your way? A dark, shadowy something? First of all, if you're the light of God, how can a dark entity get within 20 feet of your light? The only reason you experience entities is because you don't know yourself to be the light. You know yourself to be the light, things get zapped fried 100 feet from you. It's like trying to pick a fight with the sun. If you jumped into the sky towards the sun, before you could punch the sun, you'd be evaporated into nothingness. You're the sun. People talk about the Son of God. You're the S-U-N Son of God. You're the light of God. That's what the sun means. It's written like S-O-N, like Father, Son, which kind of, gender-wise, it's not the most inclusive thing, don't you think? You know? It's really the Son of God, the S-U-N, the light of consciousness, the Son of God. You are radiating the light of consciousness. And if something that is unconscious gets within 100 feet of you in a fully realized being's field, they are literally either transformed, disassembled, confused, and taken off in a different direction, or elevated to their highest aspect of truth while in the presence of that light. And what an entity actually is, even if you look at someone's field and you see dark, shadowy stuff, you're just seeing aspects of their own ego that have been so fragmented out of unity that it feels to the person like there's something else in their field trying to control them. It's just an aspect of separation that has gone so deep in separation that it feels like there's other things inside of me. There's other aspects. The fragment waiting to be loved. They're not going to act appropriate, and it's going to be a little weird. You're going to go, I love you, and it's going to go, I love you. Because you really think there are these separate things called entities. Let's just really challenge that for a moment. Like, what if I give you a funny way to challenge the belief in entities? Because entities on a spiritual path, even when you see it, you can see what you see, but how do you really know what you're seeing? I just want a very funny answer once. Someone came up to me, and they were really steeped in a really deep spiritual ego, a lot of judgments. Their third eye was open to seeing energy, but their ego was still projecting its judgments onto what it saw. So it saw, but it didn't know what it was seeing. So isn't that interesting? You can see other dimensions, but you may not know what you're seeing, because it might just be another way of creating spiritual perceptions and judgments. A person came up to me, and it was hilarious, because sometimes people need to validate their intuitive abilities. Like, how many times have you ever, again, we're all intuitive. I've been working as intuitive for many years, and I'm always saying these experiences because it's what's happened to me. And we laugh just to lighten the load of the intensity. But someone who's intuitive will oftentimes deliver a message to someone, and I've been put in that position. But how come the messages always have to be like, what's wrong with you? Like, why can't someone get an intuitive hit on what your favorite ice cream flavor is? Why is it always like, oh, I got this message from Spirit, and I needed to pass it along. Oh, there's something wrong with you. Oh no, there's something wrong with me. Oh, and Spirit also told me that I also am the person that can help you. Well, thank God for that. Isn't that convenient? Isn't that convenient? So a person came up to me once and they go, did you know you have entities in your field? And I said, yes, I do. And they got real freaked out. Because I have a real good relationship with the shadowy realms, because I'm the light that liberates it. They go, you know you have entities? And I said, yeah. I said, do you know what specific kind of entities they are? And they go, what kind? I said, they're called archangels. They're called spirit guides. And it's only perceived as fragments of your own consciousness because we're lost in beliefs of good and bad, light and dark. Because we're not fully rooted in the fact that there's only light. And any darkness is still the light, just unaware of itself. So we perceive the light in the darkest things to wake up the light in the darkest things, so that dark things don't have to patrol this world anymore. We're not doing it to get rid of dark things. We're doing it to liberate the world out of darkness. If the entire world stopped for one moment and affirmed the light in all things, the entire planet would transform into heaven. Everything is a manifestation of heart-centered consciousness. Everything is the light. Everything is the light of your consciousness. And to make it interesting, before I don't answer the first thing I said, is that maybe a funny way to see entities. Because people can have experiences of entities. Just like children can think there's a monster in their closet. And children are actually hearing sounds, but they are thinking the sounds coming from a monster. And the minute they see that those sounds are belonging to other things and not the monster is when the monster disappears, right? So we perceive entities until we know what we're really experiencing. So to help unravel your belief in darkness, to step further to the light, let's have a funny way of really questioning the reality of entities. If an entity is real, let's consider a day in the life of an entity before it starts humping and spooking you. 5 minutes before an entity shows up to freak you out, what's it doing with its day? Does an entity get together with his other entity friends and go, I'm going to go hunt them right now. I'm going to go freak them out. Do they get together and decide who they're going to hunt? See how you laugh because you're waking up out of this. We only believe in entities because we're perceiving things we don't understand. And we only perceive things that we think are threats to our consciousness because we've been raised and conditioned to blame. And if you unhook from the need to blame, then you become curious about phenomenon instead of fearful of the unknown phenomenon. You don't need to know what anything is, you just need to welcome it. How do I know if it's good? What? There's only God. And if you see something that doesn't feel good, you're seeing something that doesn't know it's God. And what's the greatest thing you can do to something that doesn't know it's God? Honor the God in it. Something appears to you with fangs and claws. Hey, God. Looking kind of weird. Looking pretty scary. And when you start praising the light in darkness, darkness can't stay in its shadowy reality and starts losing grip because darkness only exists in the dream of perception. Light is the reality within the dream of perception. So you start praising the light in darkness and darkness starts disappearing and it starts getting weakened. It doesn't want anything to do with you. So the minute you start praising the light in darkness, it wants the hell away from you. When there's something really trippy, and I say all this funny-wise because my whole life, before I really started waking up, I was awake in terms of seeing energy in different dimensions, but I've spent most of my life completely afraid of everything. When I was learning about spirituality, even as a kid, as soon as I found out about scary things, entities, that scared the shit out of me. So I'm only talking to you on the other side, and I'm helping to free you because I spent my entire life afraid of this stuff. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've never been afraid of this stuff. I spent my entire life being afraid of this stuff. Didn't even know what it was, just knew enough that I don't like that, I don't want it, I'm afraid. I was raised Jewish. I was given a bar mitzvah. And if I had a feeling that anything was in my field, I would whip out the Lord's Prayer faster than you can even imagine. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of my power. I was afraid of my shadow. I was afraid of everything. I'm not afraid to say that. It's true. Afraid of everything. Afraid of abusing my power. Afraid that I was really some dark, shadowy character pretending to be the light. I don't know what the Illuminati is. I'm probably a part of it. You know? Afraid of everything. You know your mind's working against you, and you're willing to wait for 1 minute to go, am I the Illuminati? Am I in that? Am I a part of that? Am I part of that? So let's have an experience of waking up out of the belief in darkness. Because when you praise the light of truth, you live in a reality where there is effect without cause. And when there's no blame, there's nothing to be afraid of. As always, you leave here differently than when you entered, and it sets you up and primes you for what we're going to do all day tomorrow when I help you explore the 3 levels of awakening in a way I've actually, again, like tonight, I've had flavors of this in teachings before, but what I'm going to do tomorrow, I've never actually taught publicly. And it's about having direct experiences of the 3 main levels of awakening. Awakening the cosmic mind, activating the universal heart, merging the mind and heart together, dropping into the gut. You want to wake the world up? We have to wake up. You want to wake up? Tomorrow's adventure is a way of directly just receiving reality. Today is a preview of that. You may not be able to repeat what was said tonight, but you walk out of here different. And I guarantee you leave in a level of consciousness where nothing messes with you, because you don't have the need to blame anymore. That's the sound of nothing being blank. It's just the sound of shit happening. And all of this is just building the foundation for tomorrow's all-day adventure, which I highly invite you all to be a part of, because this is just the foundation piece. Tomorrow's we start putting it all together. Stay tuned.
Be going live in like 3 hours. Peace out, everyone.